shit.
Oh, I did it. It's my fault. I'm doing it. This is the Dynasty Podcast.
Let's go.
Welcome to the Dynasty Podcast. We are not short on things to talk about today, and we are obviously joined by a new face to some, not to Ben and I, but welcome Mr. Dan James, our esteemed commissioner and fellow competitor. Thanks for doing this, buddy. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, welcome.
Ben and I wanted, I think it would be cool for everybody. I'm not sure if everybody's familiar with your background and a little bit about you. I'm obviously big on the whole social profiling aspects of our league. So why don't you take some time, tell us a little bit about yourself, where you live, what you do for a living, if you want. Share as much personal information as you feel comfortable with. And then we have a pretty open agenda with just a lot of discussion points that are centered around you and the league. And we hope to also talk just a little bit of football with you. And we're just happy to have you, bud. So go ahead and take it away.
Oh, appreciate it, guys. I live in Arkansas. I live right outside of Bentonville area. I actually do some stuff with Walmart. I am a corporate attorney, corporate merger acquisition. And so I do some mediations in that. And so that's what I do. I used to have a law firm, which is why you have the Dan James Law, why I use the email. But I no longer have the firm. I just kept the email. And so basically I just use it for football. Because I am not opening a practice anytime ever again. No, thank you. So I have worked for some firms. But largely I've been trying to transition into retirement of some sorts, working from home, doing meetings in other places. And so that's been my plan, to try and work more from home, spend more time with the family, and that's going swimmingly. This is my first day in 3 weeks. I want to thank my wife, fantastic. She's letting me do this uninterrupted, and that's amazing, being that I haven't had any days off. So
that's awesome. I think everybody in the league, especially Joel, wants to know, do you still have your secretary that does a lot of the, data entry for you? I know that's been a very interesting talking point.
My secretary works in an office somewhere else, and I am shit. The worst.
I'm teasing you.
I am no. I'm admittedly the shittiest proofreader on the planet. So yes, I have to send my documents somewhere. I have to send them to Madeline and proofread shit. So.
I'm just teasing you. Yeah. We know that you can't type and don't like punctuation necessarily.
That was the most important class in high school. When they said, "Hey, we're going to take typing in high school," I said that is like for girls. And I don't know how I passed it. I got a D. I think the teacher just gave me the D. And now looking back on it, it's the only damn class I took in high school that I wish I would have done something in it, because it was the most.
Well, you're actually trending in the right direction, because these days kids don't, know how to type either. It's just all, short abbreviated sentences and,
no cursive.
No cursive.
Cursive is dead.
No cursive. Yeah. I don't have any grandkids yet, but I told my kids, be ready. You're not even going to learn how to drive. It's like technology.
Probably not.
You'll never learn how to drive like this. So I feel kind of sad for them.
Probably not. I think that's quite possible. Might be better for some people, though, depending on a lot of different variables. So let's talk a little bit about... now, some people don't know this, but you were a part of this league since the inception, I believe, right? And then at that point in time, Chris was the commissioner and had sole responsibilities. He had a partner as well. Why don't you talk a little bit about the history of the league in sense of how you became the commissioner after its initial inception?
Was I in first year or second year? I can't remember, Ben. Do you remember?
The thing is, I think there's a missing 2014 year that we think was a test, and then we actually did 2015. I'm not sure. I think you were in the first year. If not, it was the second for
It
sure.
was the first or second. It feels like I was
And that
in the
was
inception, but I'm not 100% sure.
the last league that Chris created.
Yeah,
So
it was.
Chris had these Paragon leagues, and there were 12 maybe.
I think there were
I think
12
there
or
was
13 league.
yeah.
He created them with Brian, a guy named Brian Hatch.
I remember that name. Yeah.
Brian, I think the last league he might have been in that I know of was Blue Chip. He left.
Yeah.
He might have stayed a year after Chris left. I can't remember. And he had all these leagues, and he just up and said, I'm retiring. I'm giving it up. I'm quitting, and he didn't really say why. The fun thing, I don't know how you remember Chris. Do you remember Chris, Ben? Like,
I do. Yeah.
he was kind of a prick. Just saying. I don't know if y'all
Yeah.
remember. He was. I admire the work and the rules and everything that he put together. But he was a no bullshit guy. He ran it with an iron fist. He didn't really care about your input. And what he said went, and that's the way it was. And because he created
I
leagues, that was what I remember. Do you remember something same or different?
No, okay, so I'm not only going to confirm that, but all of the leagues were ruled with an iron fist, and I don't think it was that big a deal because there wasn't a lot of stuff that would happen. If you notice in these 16-team leagues, there's a little bit of talk. I mean, hey, CK is getting fiery right now on another veto.
Oh yeah.
So
Mando's
we're going to see how. Yeah, he's people choose to get hot at certain vetoes. That's fine. It depends on your rank.
Especially when they're 4-0.
Yeah. That's I can relate sometimes. So, but the thing about it was, Blue Chip was always trickiest because we always had the biggest turnaround. And then I think it was, in general, we would have more banter, but not a ton. And I think what was much easier then to just we could talk about rule changes, but it was like you don't really talk about rule changes because it was just we could put them to vote once a year maybe if Chris finally was sure, but there wasn't a sense of where it's our league and I want to have an opinion about this and how it's run. It's this is the rules, this is how it works. It gets ruled this way and that way. If you don't like it, fuck off.
Yeah.
And some people did fuck off and some people didn't like it and some people did. And then if there was a topic that was super gray area, then we would probably try and figure it out. But I know Chris was very anti messing with the rules because there was always unintended consequences that came with it. And there's nothing that's ever proved that more than BC.
Right.
Because even for the most part, when Dan took over and took what is now the Godfather leagues, because he's trying to keep a lot of consistency across all those leagues. And we don't have to go into all this stuff that we've changed, but majority of the times when we change something, it never actually acted the way we hoped it would, or it didn't have the results that we thought it would. Sometimes things were for the better, but I was the biggest advocate for the positional changes, and then all of a sudden the NFL was we're not using linebackers anymore. So then now we're all screwed up in a different way, right? So basically, long boring story short, when Dan took them over, there was a lot more input being created into the leagues, and there was a lot more character that was coming out of it. Not only that, he opened up to a lot of the democratic process that probably didn't exist before. So that came with good and bad. If Dan's not ruling with an iron fist, then it's giving it up to us to have an opinion, and 32 opinions are, like assholes.
Yeah. So along that note, so if I understood things correctly, and dating back to a couple years ago, there was a lot of discussion about that and how perhaps it was passed on to several different people, not necessarily you as being the only commissioner, but there was a few people that kind of stepped up, or you were the one that stepped up and said, I'll do this? I just want to get your point of view on that and how that transition happened to where you became the sole commissioner of the league after Chris and Brian's departure.
So basically Chris said he was leaving, and if someone wanted to commissioner over the leagues, then, you know, have at it. Y'all put it up for a vote. I can't remember the exact way he said it, but we ended up voting in every league. And so I didn't want the leagues to die. I really enjoyed the leagues. I had never found anything else like it. And so I have fun in these leagues, and I'm like, you know, whatever, I'll step up and I'll do it. And so I was voted commissioner in 3 leagues. The 3, obviously, the bench warmers, contract stores, not bench.
I think if I remember, if I remember correctly, Roman and I were like super big advocates for Dan because he was pretty motivated and wanted to do it. I think both of us had no time at that time to even consider it. And, you know, in all the different leagues, like League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, there was different guy that stepped up there because Dan wasn't in that league. I think Dan was in Thrones when the vote happened, but then he ended up wanting to leave his team and just continue to running it. So, anyways, that's how Dan has Thrones without having a team.
Yeah. So Dan was, so one of the things I did want to talk about was Thrones, because but the last 2 years we've been on a wait list for getting into Game of Thrones, and I wanted to get back into Game of Thrones. I got out of it because I had a lot on my plate work-wise, and I had some ideas for other leagues that I wanted to start, and I was trying to diversify the different types of leagues. And because CK and Thrones are the same, I was like, okay, I'll get out, and then I'll get these other leagues started, which is the college one that I've been trying to get going, and that Chop Suicide one. Anyways, so I really kind of want to get back in the Throne, but there hasn't been really a team available. And then I didn't want to jump in like super pot year. I didn't want to like, hey, I'm going to go get a team that's a super pot year. So I didn't want to do that. But I probably will get back in the Thrones at the next.
Yeah, get in there.
Yeah.
Yeah. So let's take a step back, because I think there's a lot of kind of talking points to discuss here. So obviously, you know, first and foremost, back to the whole democratic society that you've kind of welcomed. I think that's been, like Ben said, it's a blessing and a curse, right? I think
it has.
You opening.
I'm sorry, I mean, yeah. I had
No, sometimes it happens. It's fine.
So when I first became commissioner of the leagues, Chris sent me once I got voted in, he sent me all the information. And I know a couple of the other leagues survived. I didn't know which ones per se, but I knew the Extraordinary Gentlemen's, and there were a few other ones that also found other commissioners and they survived. But so Mike Penn State was voted. He decided he would help, and he was co-commissioner with me and Blue Chip. Buzzlowski, I think, was it Thrones or CK? He was a co-commissioner, and I can't remember the other person.
Well, he's the LOEG commissioner now, right?
Yeah. And he was, at one point, he was assistant, and I can't remember the other one that was in the other league, but they ended up, I think my experience is that everybody that gets involved in doing commissioner activities decides they don't want to do that. And that's kind of where it's been. It's been, it comes back to me on my plate to do, because I don't know. As soon as the shade starts kind of going your way, like, hey, you know, you step in, you start saying something, and you're 32 different opinions. The 16 teams aren't as bad. The 32 teams, you got a lot of different opinions, a lot of different ideas, and it only takes 2 or 3 guys to kind of say some things, and you're like, yeah, do I really want that kind of shit? Do I really want to deal
Yeah.
with it? And so I know we had a group chat initially, which is I think what maybe you were talking about. With me and Mike, Warhorse was in that. Might have been Joel, and there was 5 of us. We did a group chat, so we kind of tried to do like, if there was some important topic or something, it would just kind of be easier to chat around. And just we did it for a little bit, and then it just kind of died off. We didn't have a whole lot of going on, so it just kind of got stopped over time. Everybody just kind of stopped using it, and I think one of the guys left the league, and then maybe another one did or something. So ultimately, just stopped being used. But I don't know how much we got accomplished out of it, but.
Well, I'll say this: since I've been in the league, you've done a very good job of, being open to suggestions and ideas, and I think you have a very, very good personality and temperament for it. Like you don't, you take everything with a grain of salt. Obviously, 32 different, maybe 36 different personalities, depending if owners or teams have more than one owner, is tough to handle. And
I
like,
thought you were going to say more than one personality.
well, there's some of those too. I might be one of them, depending on the day and what's going on in people's lives, right? Like it can get pretty inconsistent, to say the least. I think I have been somewhat not critical, but like there has been some issues where oh, I don't have time for this, or it's my workload's a little bit heavy here and there, and it felt like at some points things just weren't buttoned up maybe the way they should have been across all the leagues. And I think that's probably even more escalated when people have an opinion and they start pointing things out and they think they can do a better job. And that's never been my position. Like I've never wanted to be a commissioner and have that responsibility for one of these leagues. But where my frustration was somewhat at was then we started seeing you add these other leagues where I thought that was going to take away your time from buttoning the things up that needed to be buttoned up. And I know we talked a little bit about, and there's been a lot of support for it, and you've kind of shot it down of having somewhat of a leadership council for BC specifically, because I think it's its own animal, where not necessarily to, unseat you as commissioner, but to balance kind of those major decisions where things do get heated and you need 5 people, that it's kind of like the Supreme Court justice where it's, whatever that vote is, it's all several people that have been, committed to doing it for a term, and possibly passing on some of the responsibilities. I'll give you a key point of view. Like one of the things that maybe Ben would like to talk about is how we're not putting people into the system and how much time that takes. And, that kind of has probably been negative for some people, and I understand that there's a super amount of time for it. I don't even know half those players, so it's not that very concerning to me, but Ben has made a career off of finding those guys. So just things like that. And then, we have a lot of talented people in the league that try to make suggestions to make things better. Harley's a perfect example on the coding for the scheduling, which is it can't be manipulated. There's no, it's a science, right? Like, and those kind of just talk a little bit about where your feeling is at with some of those things. I think also another point real quick is just kind of the overall transparency and how things run. So my thought was that, hey, if you pass this to 5 people and you're starting to get shit, well, the 5 people are stronger than the one. So everybody's agreed to those people being their elected officials. And it's kind of, then that's where the buck stops, right? It's kind of like, you do rule with an iron fist because it's the 5 people as a collective making the tough decisions as all the shit coming to you. And so that was kind of my thought process behind it. But go ahead and talk about where you think you're at with that, if that's something that you're open to. If not, reasons why.
I say that. Well, I guess I'll go backwards a little bit. To once when Chris sent me all of the information and all the stuff, Paragon was gone. Like,
Yep.
all the websites, he was stopped paying for all that, and all that business. So, in order for us to basically take it and kind of keep it, it was either like save it on a Word document or put it on the website. So what I did was basically take everything, organize it, put it on the website. I thought that would, make it cool, make it attractive, make it legitimized. Like, hey, look, we have real leagues. It's not willy-nilly bullshit. And so then that's when the Godfather thing came in, got logos and
For
all
sure.
that stuff. So
It's great. You've done an amazing job putting all that together.
and then as far as counsel, my opinion has always been like we do have a council. We have people, YouTube guys, Joel and Harley and guys, Mike, that are
Mandy.
just great voices. And so to me, what are you really looking for? And that's what you're looking for. You're looking for those voices. They're not always going to agree with you, right? We don't always agree on every little topic and everything, but I really take that because, like I said, I feel like it's like our league, and I want to make sure that everybody's input. And you guys have big voices, and you talk to other guys in the league, through trades and all this other stuff. So I guess I've always kind of felt like we do have it. You guys can always send me messages and say, hey, look, this is this is either a problem or this is something, or, can we go take a look at that? So I guess in my brain, I'm always wondering, I feel like I have those steady guys that are always here. They're always playing. They're always got their fingers on everything. And then, if you say, hey, look, this is an issue, let's, we can definitely just sit around and talk about it.
I think where there might be,
I don't want to be an iron fist person that says, hey, fuck it, this is the way it is. There's a few button issues that I'm like, I feel more strongly about than other things. But it's also I do feel like it's our league. What is important? Let's vote on it. There's no rule changes that I make, right? It's only an interpretation of what is written there. And those are my least favorite things in the world to do. Is I want to take that completely out of my hands. I want it to be in the rules. I want the rules to be specific. And that's where we have more issues than anything. And is it because we changed the rule, like Ben said, or is it's I feel like the league evolves, and we go back and look at some of these originally written rules, and they kind of don't make sense, or they're not worded to what our problem is. And I don't know how in the world we find more problems, but every year we seem to find something in the rule that
15 plus years later, somehow we're still finding shit. It's crazy.
Still
20
finding
years,
it's
I guess, almost.
And you look at it and you're like, these rules are brilliant. They are written fantastic and they're brilliant. And then you look at them going, that's stupid. So we do keep finding stuff. And so that's my biggest thing is I want to eliminate that back and forth people going, this is an issue because this says this, or I think this says this. And I really want to be out of that. Because there's no good place. And so when you're in the middle of it, I take that upon myself because I wouldn't want somebody else to have to deal with that bullshit. It's a lot of bullshit.
Yeah.
And being in the middle and calling crosshairs. And so my goal is really to get things, like you said, run the way we want them, worded the way we want them. If there's a rule change, we vote on it. It's the vote, whatever the vote says is it. That was the comment.
I agree with you, Dan.
The comment last week or whatever that I guess some once in a while I get a little hot button issue that takes me kind of I don't feel like I run it. This is it's my league. It's kind of I orchestrate it. I'm the Godfather, whatever, but I'm not. I don't go, this is it, this is it, this is it. We're not voting on this, we're doing this. I don't do it that way, and I never have.
Yeah.
So
I think
somebody
that's
kind of insinuates that. That's the one thing that kind of throws me out a little bit.
I think that's a great point. So my only feedback on that, and where it maybe could be a little misconstrued, is just because people have the loudest voices doesn't mean that they're the ones that should be deciding things necessarily. Like, and I would want to alleviate anybody's concern just because I'm very vocal or Ben's very vocal or anybody's vocal, that you're listening to those more vocal people any more than you are someone that, you know, maybe is a little bit more quiet or, you know, is behind the scenes. So in my thought process, if you had an established council that everybody had voted on, and let's say it is a rule that is, there's some of them are written pretty obscurely depending on, you know, you're a lawyer by trade, so like you write rules that can be, you know, just one word or two words. Well, it's implied in that, and someone will say, well, it's not actually implied, that it's not in the rules, and then we're like, are we going to rule by the rule? Blah blah blah. That's where I think having 5 people that just vote on, okay, this is the way the rule is interpreted, and there's no question, and it doesn't come back to you. That's where I think a leadership council would be beneficial, and also to eliminate some of the noise, the overall noise. If people have an issue, they go to their elected person. They're the one that communicates some of their issues, so it's not all this screaming back and forth kind of thing, which I think was a lot worse last year and the year before than it is now. It seems to be more constructive, but then they would have kind of a way to, if they're not as vocal, to, hey, you know, this is how I feel about it. Why don't you guys go talk about it in your little chambers or whatever, and then we'll come out with something that we all collectively agree on. So that was the theory behind it all, to lessen the noise, to lessen any burden of you having to make some of those tough decisions, where people could say, well, you know, he has a good relationship with Corey. I wonder why he ruled, you know, to let him add that player back, right? Like that, you know, that was a one that went in my favor, and I think we've always had a good relationship. Could someone say, well, you know, Dan played favoritism there? Well, if you have a council in place and you know, those 5 people are voting on it, and then it's not, you know, up to just you to decide, I think that alleviates some of that mistrust or whatever they could come up with in those situations. So that's just my 2 cents.
Yeah, I think it can.
I would.
But I also think, I'm sorry, Ben, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just going to add that there's on such council, I think there's some more constructive stuff that the league has with ideas. Let's just take Harley's example with schedule making. I've thrown out on the podcast that I think we're going to have a conversation about possibly moving from 3 linebackers to 2 linebackers and like a second defensive flex. But those types of conversations, when they're kind of thrown on a message board, kind of just get lost a little bit. So if there is a council to really try and thoughtfully think these things through before we put them to vote, I think that can only help, because in a lot of these situations, we're always just trying to make the league better, more playable, and like kind of more balanced for everyone. I think that's why we made that change back before to go true position, because back then they had every outside linebacker as a linebacker, and there was a real shortage of DNs, and we were starting the 2, so we did true position because they were better, and then MFL flipped, and now the league flipped, yada yada. There's like positionless defense now, right? So with positionless defense is coming complications. There's more corners or more safeties. There's less linebackers. There's more D tackles, D ends. Anyways, so these types of things are kind of great to like have a group who can like continue to work this towards a voting goal of like March, right? Or whenever we're going to start that next league year, instead of us trying to kind of like not have everyone in the league yet and everyone, you know, like I'd like to see proactively being able to solve some issues that some that have concerns are with like a subcommittee, to where we get to a voting point. Maybe that's like right at the very end of the year, right as the finals are happening or something. And then I would say the other thing, which this would help for this and would help for other things, I've seen people have brought it up, is I think that we've always struggled in all leagues, but specifically this one, because there's 32 leagues, with voting participation. And I think that we need to brainstorm an idea of if there's an easy way, because I don't know the back end tech that you're dealing with. I don't know how hard it is to force somebody to vote before they can set a lineup or make a trade or what that means. Because I usually, if you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think like you individually just have to take people's rights away. I don't know if there's a setting to do that. So I think things like this we want to talk about as far as having, if we're going to put thoughtful things to vote that we want to, or have this veto process in general play out as it's meant to be played out, or whatever needs to be voted on, I think our best bet is to figure out how we can force participation. I know some people are like, oh, I don't believe in vetoes. I don't want to. Okay, just vote no, like whatever it is. I think in the end, if it's like people are just like, I don't want to vote on things, then we lose important, input that we need to like move forward with a lot of stuff.
Yeah. So on a couple of those things, it was in my notes that I wanted to talk about, was exactly what you just said. The changing the linebacker position to a flex, the third linebacker. My opinion, this is just my opinion, is that we've made linebackers insanely valuable. When you start wanting linebackers over running backs or something like that, I don't even understand how that's even. So I think it's out of whack from what you said, with the position changes and everything. And so that was one of that. I was like, do I post that and see about getting some feedback on it, or do I wait till the pod and kind of mention that? So you mentioned it before I did. So that was
I think I brought it up on the pod before that there's only like one, maybe two teams that are playing linebackers, three linebackers with significant snaps. So if we're a 32-team representative league, before it was everyone played three linebackers, and then you had outside linebackers, and then you had this. Now it's just like if you're an edge, you're a D-end, and you have to play middle linebacker kind of to be a linebacker, and nobody's playing middle linebackers. I mean, a lot of teams just use one and like a part-time guy, and that's it. That's positionless football. There's, again, guys who are safeties playing middle backer positions.
Right.
And it's hard to juggle these types of things. So I think I think for next year, getting that ball rolling, talking about that, but I mean, I think it's very easy to put the math forward. Like if we just go get it of like how many middle linebacker snaps are being used versus how many starters we're requiring.
Right.
I
really think that's a way to go. And just like I said, this is just my opinion, is to turn that linebacker spot into a flex. I haven't broken down the math. Just looking at the overall values, and like you said, everybody's trying to fill their teams, and they can't fill their teams. And so
on defense, I think. Sorry to interrupt, but on defense also, like as two flexes, we're a pool of five positions, right? Mm-hmm. And so sometimes you're strong at corner, sometimes you're strong at safety, here and there. Like it allows you to explore that depth. If you got a bunch of good used D tackles, especially during buys, 45 roster spots, it's so hard to strategize for depth. It's really luck based. So I think you take on defense a lot of the injury by luck and stuff because, on offense, it's like running back, wide receiver, tight end. So you're dealing with three positions and depth positions, and you focus on that. On defense, you're two injuries away at any position of just taking zeros all over the floor. Yeah. And, if it's two across the board and one D tackle with two flex spots, if you got an abundance of linebackers that score tons of points, congratulations. Great. You get to play four. But if you have four safeties or if you have four good corners or whatever, then those people with those rosters will start taking a little less penalty. And it'll also allow, I think, for the competition to last longer where people won't feel like, my depth in certain positions is getting me nowhere. Because we talk about trading into those weaknesses. Yeah. But like trading in this league is so hard unless you have draft capital. And then when you do, you're usually sure you're moving on or sure you're competing. So like like I said, trading doesn't happen that often and we have no wire. It just feels like giving the max flexibility roster wise is probably best for the general competition of everyone.
I agree with that. I think the flexibility allows more teams to be competitive despite injuries and how they choose to fill their lineups. Obviously, like all major changes, it would have to be several years probably in advance or a next cycle because you can't build off of one expectation and then have a change. But I think that's certainly something that needs to be discussed because there's so many more like safeties playing in the box now, and you can't even maximize that if you have a safety that's getting 30% snaps as a line. So it's just I mean, the linebacker position is so valuable that when Quincy Williams goes on IR, who's a top 10 dynasty linebacker, I get offered a Landon Roberts for $200 that has scored 15 points this year. And that's a valid trade because I'm desperate, and Veto sees that. And he's like, well, he's competing. He's got to have somebody to fill the hole, but I didn't obviously accept that trade, Veto, as you well know. But the attempt was there, right? Because you have a couple linebackers go on IR, and now you got a hole, or you're starting an IR person or someone on bye, and you're kind of like, shit, I'm not even competing anymore because my team's blown up.
I don't know if you need to wait years because the fact of the matter is, if you have four good linebackers, you still can play four good linebackers. All you're doing is giving extra flexibility. And if you're trying to say that I want everyone to be screwed for 2 to 3 years based off of me hoarding these linebackers, I mean, cool, but like I don't think that's really a good reason to like do it. Like for me, we're not giving anyone a negative edge by making that change. All you would be doing is, well, excuse me, you're not making their team less valuable, right? By saying that their four linebackers can still be played, and but other
I
people
would
can
I
play
would
other
push
spots.
back on that because I could have collected linebackers thinking that I could trade one off and get more
Coulda,
assets
shoulda,
for them.
woulda. Yeah,
Yeah.
you could. You everyone did every strategy imaginable in BC. I'm just saying.
I would have.
I think it's real. Go ahead, Vito.
I was saying that I probably also would say we probably would be waiting, in my opinion, until after the next super pot cycle because some people, when people are building their franchises, they invested heavily in cheap linebackers. Um, and so to change it quickly, I think is going to, and I don't know, without just looking at a lot of teams and specifically, but I feel like some teams that invested heavily in linebackers would be upset that if we changed it
It's
fairly quickly.
it's a never-ending cycle regardless, right? So if you know a rule is going to come into impact 3 years from now, regardless, you're going to start prepping for that, not just in the third year, right before it happens. People are going to start making those shifts, whether they're a competing team or a non-competing team, to start preparing for that because most of us that want to compete don't ever want to really have to do a complete rebuild. Like once you get into a position of power, like you're smart enough to know that you have to move pieces around in order to continue to stay there because it moves so quickly. And I think people that are in a rebuild mode now, knowing 3 years from now, hey, I'm going to start collecting these now, knowing that it's only going to make me stronger. So I think there's probably a happy medium there as long as there's a couple year window where people can start to kind of plan for it. I don't think anybody's sitting there and building their strategies from 4 years from now. That's semi-competent and competitive in this league. Mike Sorgan might disagree because he's super analytical and he's obviously built a really strong team. Because he's one of those advocates of you gotta, I built my team based off of XYZ. But it's something to discuss. And again, these are things that the leadership council could kind of pre-vet and talk about and bring a perfect executed idea that doesn't get as much pushback instead of a bunch of people firing it off and, having a different opinion about little tweaks here and there. The other thing I would say, this is the last point I'll make on it. We've also talked about the onboarding process of new owners and how we want to prevent them from, hurting themselves and their future through trades or contracts and things of that nature. If you had a leadership council in place with 5 people that were elected, including yourself, Dan, one of those people could be assigned to a newbie by random draw out of a hat, not random. That's not live. It's got to obviously be live and make sure that it's 100% official because we wouldn't want any funky business. But that person could then be a mentor to those new people for the first couple months, let them ask, questions, get feedback, bounce trades off of them that they're getting but they wouldn't be allowed to be trade, partners with them, which is kind of a detriment. But I think that's something that we have to discuss as well, is how do we protect new owners and make sure that situations where, it's a shark in the water kind of thing, as soon as 2 weeks is up or 3 days, and it's, the people that are firing the most out of them and telling them a really shiny story end up getting really, really important deals done that impact the league. So what are your thoughts on that overall, as far as how we protect new owners after their onboarding?
I definitely think we need to come up with something to help the new owners. Um, I don't know what it is. That doesn't sound like a bad idea to me. Um, so, we can definitely open this up to other people's feedback and see what ideas everyone has. If that's the idea, I'm fine with it. I think the best thing is making sure we have good experiences for new owners, and we don't want to see them get hammered in trades. I think I got hit on for that. I do a trade with.
We'll get there.
That's not just you, Dan.
Remember the night.
Yeah.
A lot of people out there taking the fresh bait. A lot of people out there
taking the fresh bait. I'm not in it. I think.
I
think you hammered Mike on it too. So I think everybody's got a hammer on it a little bit. So
Yeah.
there
Can
you go.
you talk-
Yours is better than mine.
We're gonna have a little celebration, a little special for your
Special.
presence here on the pod and coming and talking to us.
you.
Well, I know the league is gonna appreciate it, that listens, and we appreciate it as well. I mean, I think we talk through emails and stuff enough to know your pulse on a lot of things. I don't think the league gets that opportunity, and I think this will be really helpful. Especially, I think I speak for Corey and a lot of the veterans, that when there's a lot of credibility doubt or thoughts of collusion and foul play when it comes to the commissioner. We just know that stuff's not possible, but like new people don't really know one way or the other. The only thing I try and just say is like, I don't know, for a guy who's been in the league since the beginning, I don't think I would be so keen to tolerate such things, we've always talked about that everyone in the league's seems to be pretty good about that stuff. Like I think we usually know when somebody knows somebody. I think that probably can be a detriment in some ways as far as a deal and the way it's looked at. I don't think it's been a very big problem. I don't think I had trades with Roman that people questioned, or Jason or Corey that were really come into question. I think, again, to say that you and Warren are friends was funny. I mean, like, you're friends as far as you've been playing competitively fantasy football. Like, we're all friends and enemies at the same time, right? But, like,
just because you have very similar approaches to trade values and how you offer them doesn't mean that you guys, grew up together in Arkansas, right?
I think they're quite different. I think they're quite different.
Warren and Veto are probably the two most unlikely ever to make a deal with me.
Warren impresses me with the amount of trades that a human being can send.
Roman did that. He was very good at that too. Yes. Roman would send. If Roman didn't send 15 trades a week in a league, he'll feel like he failed.
And Roman would have 100% got vetoed by now. He would have got vetoed by me without a doubt in one of these last 2 years.
I wonder what Warren does for a living, to be honest with you, because that's a lot of trades going out. So
we will never know.
He's the action meter, 24/7. He's the 7-Eleven of our league, man. He's always open.
Well, Warren and I had a nice interaction today. Okay, so let me go back one step, because Ben made a very, very interesting point, and I will support him as well. There has been talk of distrust and collusion and shadiness. I've heard from several different relatively new owners, and I honestly, I get it to a certain degree. I think it's unwarranted, but it has to be talked about, right? So a couple of questions I have, because to Ben's point, I don't know what you can see through the system, right? So a couple of questions that I've had. Can you see other people's trades as the commissioner, as they're sending them to other owners within the MFL system?
There is a setting in there that you can change so that you can go into the trades because you have to execute trades for. So when we do a steal, a taxi squad steal, and someone generally
Right.
I will let it sit there for about 2 days. Generally, I give it about 2 days before somebody might even email me, hey,
Hits you up.
are you going to process the trade? I try and let everybody handle it themselves
Yep.
before I go in there, because I try not to do it, go in there as often as I can. But yeah, so when you go into that screen, you will see that I offered that trade to that guy, and I can hit execute the trade.
So it's an offer that's been made from one owner to the other, but you don't get like a notification every time some owner is sending a trade. So if I send a trade to Ben right now, you can't see that unless you press a button, or you
Right, you have to
can
go in
see
there.
it and
You
you
have to
just
go in
don't
there, and
choose to.
yeah, you have to go in there and in the setting.
So I think again, that could be seen as something that is smoke that you don't want, right? So if
It's
more
not.
people had access,
Yeah,
okay.
you
Well,
don't.
I
And
mean, just from a
unfortunately, as
perception,
commissioner, and that's why we don't have, and that's one of the reasons we don't have 5 commissioners with
Yeah,
true.
commissionership,
yeah.
because then you really start opening yourself up to a bunch of issues. That's one of my
That's a good
things has
point.
been is if you have 5 people involved, then you start getting clicky.
A
You
lot
start
of
getting,
information.
you get, I worry. I sit down and contemplate worrying about, um, do we get clicky? Do we go a lot of 2 or 3 guys getting on this side and
Yeah. No, I
you know
mean,
what I'm
we are
saying?
clicky. I
With
mean,
going back and forth, and
there's no
I
doubt
worry
about it.
about that. I don't think I like the fact I like the position that I'm in, because I don't play. I don't play for money. I don't give a shit. I'll be honest with you.
Right.
I wish if I really had my brothers, I would play a $5,000 league.
Right.
I think I'm in several leagues, but I mean the money is not a big deal. So I really play for the fun, and
All right. So let me
I
ask
think
you
most of
another.
us do.
Yeah, I think so too. It's not. It's you want to be the best in the best.
You're trying to get
Format.
rich on a 32 team league. I mean, good
right,
luck. Good luck with that business plan.
right,
I
right.
think people get confused because we start talking about how our strategy changes in the super pot, but I don't think they understand it's more of a, yeah, the money's a little bit nicer, but it's more of like to be the super pot champion shows that you had a 4 year strategy that paid off in the fourth year, which is kind of like my super pot, a super pot victory be worth, it wouldn't be worth my back to back titles, but it would definitely be worth, in the realm to get a super pot at some
I
point, right? It's
like
just like,
I like when we changed it from 5 years to 3 years. I think
oh, I'm
one of
sorry.
the
It's
best
three. Yeah. Sorry. Yeah.
one of the best things we ever did, I think, was go from 5 to 3, because I think it narrows that window for people getting excited and strategizing, and it's like, oh, I suck, but you know what? Super Pot's now only 2 or 3 years away. I can build back up and get into the mix. I think it keeps people interested.
Yeah.
And um, speaking of this, so this coming year will be after the Super Pot. Because one of the things, the notes you had was turnover, and this will be the lowest turnover year we've ever had. Now we've actually been trending the last couple of years. I think in blue chip especially, when Chris was there, we got anywhere from 6, 7 to 9 owners a year were rotating.
Yeah.
And the year he left, it was right at half the league. And I don't know if it was like one less or one more. It was right at half the league. But since then we averaged 3 or 4. We ended up with 7, I think, last year, and that was because of the 2 late changes with Warhorse and his cousin. We were at 5, and I think we ended up with 7.
And his other cousin, and
There's a
his
lot of
brother Daryl.
lot of evolutions that had to happen during that too, because what happened was the harder this league became to fill, the more we had to start, like, a lot of the current amnesty rules all came from that, because and this goes to the idea of having a real support system for new owners, because even though we have these amnesty rules for the next guy to take the team, if you make a terrible couple bids in and then in the auction and sign them, a $300 contract for 5 years, there's no coming back from that, right? That's a 3-year setback if that doesn't work out, and even maybe if it does. So what you would have, this was specifically back then, was people would make mistakes, but they were not recoverable mistakes. In these 16-team leagues, you probably could make a mistake, cut everyone, rebuild the next year, and come back. You can't rebuild a team that fast, unless your name's Bad Boys. Yeah. Apparently, he can turn it over in fucking 2 seconds flat. Right. I have no idea how he built that fast. But
Roman was pretty good too.
Roman was always good, but that's like really pivoting strategy and trading a ton, right? Really like being active. And I think for a casual, there's no way to do it. And I think we've been doing really well on adjusting to get the owners to come in. And I think even though we do believe we need more of a leadership council, so like you're talking about with new owners, the new owners get way more support than they used to in this.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
I mean, new owners used to come in and just get absolutely wrecked. And now it's just like, okay, that's how it goes, like welcome to the big leagues. But it's like the problem in that sense is like that owner, they might try 2 years and then they're just going to be like, oh man, I can't get rid of these mistakes.
I would have gotten wrecked if I didn't have you and Roman in the league, like, because I bounced every single trade. Like, does this make sense? And like, you guys were very, very nice. And then at some point you're like, okay, we gotta move on from this. And I think CK was my first league, and I got pretty brutalized early in that. And then I kind of got brutalized a little bit in BC early by my Mr. Penn. But other than that, like, I had people that I could. So that natural, because we were friends, like, did help me. Like, my brother's now included in that. He sends me a lot of stuff. And like, I'm trying to be as unbiased as possible, but every owner should have 2 or 3 guys that they trust that's going to give them an honest opinion that doesn't benefit them until a certain point. And I think if we facilitate that for every owner that doesn't have those relationships,
it's like a buddy system.
It's a buddy system, and it makes it feel a little bit more clean. I do have to go back because I am the host, so I need to make sure everything's covered here before we get off on tangents.
Hold on, Corey. Before I have one thing I absolutely have to clarify.
No, we can come back to it. We can come back. Hold it. Go ahead. Hold it.
Roman and I in no way, shape, or form signed off on you trading 2 first-round draft picks for Gabe Davis.
Oh, I thought I knew everything at that point. 3? So. No, it was 2. Shut up, Veto.
2, maybe 2 in a second. It might have been 2 in a second.
You should have protected me as the commissioner in that.
We probably should have vetoed that. It was pretty bad.
Here's what's sad is I was with you, man. I thought he was going to be good. So I sucked too.
He was good. He won me a title. What else can you say? He had 4 touchdowns against Penn in the semifinal game. That's karma, baby. All right. At that point, I have been called a narcissist before by people in this league. So at that point, I was fully believing that I knew what I was doing, and that was obviously kind of wrong, kind of right. One last question on the system. This is my own curiosity. Can you see when people are bidding in the auction then? No, like what prices and people are bidding? That's shut off. No commissioner settings. I can't imagine that would be a setting. Okay.
You can't see bids. You can't see like chats. Like if you're chatting with people, you can't see them.
Okay.
Yeah, I looked that one up. Sorry, I could have told you that, Corey. I looked that one up. It's not for Dan. It wasn't. It was somebody.
It's not an accusation. It's just I'm curious, right? Because it's just like I don't know. It's not like I can Yahoo. It's like it seems like a very kind of there's a lot of options in that website or in the system, and I just don't know what you have access. I'm just trying to alleviate any sort of doubt that gives you too much power and people have anything to say, because this is the time to do it. One other thing on that note, the onboarding process. Me and you talked a little bit about this before Ben joined and before we started recording. I think it's important that everybody knows what lengths you take to vet people to make sure that they're not leaving the league, coming back as a new owner, that they're not already in the league and they're signing up under a different VPN and have 2 teams going. what kind of system do you have in place when you're recruiting new owners? Because sometimes we've been desperate and we were just like, let's take any asshole we can. We don't seem to be in that position, but we never know. So one of the things that I have a hard time with is like when you just get a name and no real email address, and it's like, okay, that itself looks suspicious to me. I understand people not wanting to be doxxed. Not everybody is as comfortable with that as I am, or Ben, or you, obviously. But how do we overcome this idea that in such a large league, when nobody really knows each other in detail except for a few of us, that we're getting people that they are who they say they are, and that they're only themselves, if that makes sense?
Sometimes it will depend, and this is why I guess it's good when I get a lot of email conversations. So especially when new guys come in the league, or they try and send in emails. It depends on also where they came from. I try and collect that information. I will try and ask some questions, and gauge kind of maybe a little bit of their experience. And people will kind of give up what they know or don't know. And this is where it's kind of a gut feeling. You're feeling people out. I've passed on a couple of people that just wasn't sure. Like you always worry about that, right? Somebody got out, they're trying to come back in, and of course, recently we talked about that before we got on here, and so I did pass on someone because it was just a little more curious than some of the other guys. And after having conversations with some of the new owners that we had, I felt really comfortable with those guys. I really,
Oh, they're great.
Really excited about the guys we got in this year. Man,
Yeah.
I'm hoping that
Good group.
And so this is where I feel like I really wish I'd have done better. Like we talked about having some mentors. Like I feel like I tried to have a lot of conversation with them when they first got here, and since then, like if I get busy or something, I've had less conversation with them. And sometimes I will send out an email, hey, how's it going? How you feeling about things? You got any questions? I want to say probably in the last month I haven't, for sure. And so that's kind of bothered me a little bit. Once in a while I will do that. But lately I have been busy.
Mike and Larry have done a great job. Mike and Larry have my cell phone number. They've reached out to several other people. They're perfect fits for this league. They're a little bit more quiet probably in the public sector of the message board, but I do get a lot of their opinions and stuff too. And I never wanted to be a sounding board or a voice for anybody. So I always encourage them, hey man, you have just as equal voice as everybody else in this league, whether you're first year, 10th year, like you're in this league and you know what you're doing. So feel free to point things out. But I think they're respecting all the history and the amount of work that it has taken on your part to get us to this point, and then other people that have helped support you in that process as well. So I think we're in a really good spot. Where it gets hard is where you have owners that are in their first or second year and they start, I don't know if it's a mob mentality where they start seeing things and maybe it's kind of put into their head where, a word gets thrown out, and I've been guilty of it. And then it's probably heat of the moment. And it's like, you just take a deep breath and you realize that I think we all are pretty good humans in this league. I know for one that we would all help each other out if someone was in trouble, kind of thing. We've proven that time and time again. So I think anything we can do, I don't know if it's, with the way that you can block phone numbers and use WhatsApp, is there a way that we could do kind of an interview process with several people where they have to at least put their voice on, to where it's like, hey, email seems just very, very like a weak entry point, if you ask me. Like, right? Like, just because of all the things we're dealing with, it's like I could have 4 fucking email addresses and 3 VPNs. Like, that's not hard to, if you never have to vocally talk to someone,
right?
Like ever, like that's scary to me, to be perfectly honest, right? Like, not because this is some big serious league, but it's like, I think some of that would just calm the tensions that anything possibly could be not on the up and up, if that makes any sense. I wouldn't hire anybody for a job without talking to them over the phone, right? Like, it's kind of like that in a way.
But Corey, you're kind of talking about an MFL problem, and like the problem of being in the world and realm of these types of leagues,
Yeah.
It's like, I know we want perfection and we want, like, to the point of this league, it's, our league. We want to make sure there's no foul play and stuff like that. But in general, I think for me personally, everyone who historically I've ever seen in these leagues have a dual account accidentally at one point was in one of them in the other, right? On MFL leagues. And they got caught and then they were out. Or they quit immediately and it was just like they knew they got caught.
Oh,
Or
you've
something like
had
that.
people actually get busted for it. You've seen it. Some people get
It's
busted.
happened. It's happened before. I remember there was a situation. It was when Ramon definitely was around. There was somebody who was signed in as somebody else, and then
Yeah, I mean,
talked
but
about a trade or something.
that's someone that's in the league currently, and I don't really want to add fuel to that, like because that's a whole
No,
warhorse
no,
thing,
not
and it's
that
like,
one.
oh, okay.
Not
I
that
mean
one.
that's not something I want to go into.
No,
It's
this
just
was
we'll
more
we'll let that
specific.
die.
If I remember, it wasn't in the contract league. I don't think it was in any of these contract leagues. It might have been in like Divide or one of these other ones that was Paragons before. Point being, there's that, and then there's also trade tendencies and conversations and rhetoric. Unless you're dead silent, usually trade offerings and stuff that comes through. Most people will mention what team they like, and you start to kind of figure out who's a fan of what, and like some of that stuff's pretty tough to cover up. Now that being said, there's probably 25% of the league who don't say anything.
At least 10 to 12 managers, I would say.
That
But to be
never
honest with
said
you,
anything. I mean, like just
well,
kind of
very, very
run their own
few.
show. But like I've probably offered trades to them and gotten responses. Some are co-owned, so that's why there's not a lot of message board banter ever, right? Because they're just co-owned. They go talk about it. Do you want to do this? Yes. Although Baltimore is one that comes to mind. I think that's two, right?
Right.
Two in ours.
But he
But
interacts a certain amount.
no, I know he does, but like I'm just saying that as an example.
I'll be
But
honest with you, the ones that don't interact, you don't see them ever at the top very often either. That's another question point, right? Like, are they just people that are bottom feeding very slowly, other top? Like that's a conspiracy approach to be like, well, I don't have to say anything. I can just kind of, I'm in and out in 2 years and I'm gone kind of thing. And that's what we want to prevent and make sure can't happen, right? It's like,
Yeah.
so, I mean, I'm way more likely, and I've already proven it with like Mike and Larry and even the Argonauts and like Harley's become a lot more vocal over the last year. Last American Dynasty, everybody's kind of starting to find their own rhythm, but I'm way more likely to put time into people that I know are 100% the person they say they are, and that they can be, vetted, because it's just, and it's like the other thing is you start seeing tendencies, which we do have somewhat of a cliquey league, right? Like it's hard to say that Ben and I and Jason, my brother, don't share conversations or, value talk or things of that nature.
Right.
When there is influence when you've developed relationships with other people and you might go one way or the other. That it's crazy to assume that doesn't happen on several different pockets of people, right? And so when their tendencies start to align on vetoing and, oh, I'm going to sit this one out because I, blah, blah, blah. But then they're in a veto and then they're the one that's, seconding. That's where people start having questions. And I'm not saying Mandy, I'm just using that as an example because it's the most recent thing that came to my mind. That's where people are like, okay, I'm starting to see a pattern where people are kind of all aligned in an agreement on certain topics and they only vocalize it when someone else is in trouble. Or, Ben and I, like, shit, I offered Bauer a fucking, Browning for Wentz on a 1-year deal. I'm like, okay, or Rodgers, and I'm like, hey, I need him. He's on a bye. I could say that there's a downgrade to Browning long-term over Rodgers. So to me, that's a fair deal, but he's my buddy and I know he's going to respond in 2 minutes and I have direct access to his phone and I can make that communication happen very quick. I can't get that from some people, and you're in an emergency setting, you go to who you know, right? So
Right.
that stuff to me could be foreseen as, whatever, a friendly deal. but there's always justification for it. So
Yeah, but
I don't know.
that's also why Roman made so many deals. Roman was everyone's buddy. I mean, unless you were on his
But he would
blacklist, which
bend you
wasn't a lot of
over.
people.
But he would bend you
Doesn't
over.
matter.
He
Doesn't
wouldn't friend.
matter.
You would owe Mr.
Roman,
Roman something. You know,
no,
a
you
little
talk
bit,
so bad about
a
our
little bit.
Frenchie.
I love
You
him,
talk
but
so bad over
he would
Frenchie. He
he would
had
be like, hey,
personal relationships with everyone.
he was great at relationships. Don't get me wrong, but he would. This brings me to the Veto trade, which is a perfect segue. This is where people probably had a problem with it because you're a savvy owner that knows that Warren would have paid to make that transaction happen, and they don't feel like you got the value that you could have held him against the coals and said, you got to pay up a little bit more, not just the normal amount, but you got to go a little bit more, buddy. I know what you're trying to accomplish this year. I know where you're at,
So
and he had a ton of assets. He had a ton of assets to trade.
Tell you a funny story about that one. Can you tell? Like, can you see who's live? Can you see if he's watching? Before I call him out.
No, nobody's on.
Oh,
Warren doesn't listen to
This
us.
doesn't stream live. I
Oh,
still
okay,
edit it
okay.
before I put it on YouTube.
No, it does. It does stream live. People have access to it if they wanted to watch it live.
Oh, really?
I read. Yeah,
No,
I
but
read
it would show it if they were and nobody's on.
Well, they can't be seen, but they could watch us. If that makes sense.
Well,
okay.
write in the chat on the message board if you're watching.
Right
I'm
in the
curious
chat
if
on the
this is
message
true.
board. So
It's all whispered.
yeah. So story on the trade. I had two offers.
Let's hear it, Dan. This is
I
your
did. I
moment.
had two offers for Crosby. Both of them were third round picks. One of them was from Penn State, and I don't remember who the other one was from. And then
How long was he on the market? How long was he on the market, Dan?
at least several days. I think I posted it.
Oh, there was a
think it was a
message.
few days.
There was a message board post. There was a message board post or a trade bait update that said Max Crosby's on the open market. Boys, come get him.
It easy.
I'm just
I think
asking. That's a question that everybody would ask.
I'm pretty sure. I go back and look at it. I think I changed trade bait. I don't know, but I'm pretty sure. Yeah.
I'm gonna have another for this one, Dan. I'm gonna have
Okay,
another.
have
if that's
another
okay.
one. So I did have a couple offers for Crosby, another offer for someone else, and then I got that offer from Warren. He had the player I wanted, which was the safety. I was really high on that guy. He was my number one safety. I saw a lot of places that had him listed as if he wouldn't have been hurt before the end of his last college year. They said he'd be back sometime this year. But he would have been drafted over Eminwari. He would have been the number one safety. He would have been a first round pick. That was the guy that I liked that I could not get from him. And so I liked the 49er receiver, Watkins. I liked him also. I felt like
You can get anything you want to get from Warren if you're willing to overpay. That's
well,
the
yeah,
bottom line.
yeah, if you're willing to overpay, yes. I don't like to overpay very often. I'm not an overpay kind of guy usually.
Some would disagree with that, Dan.
Okay. So
Well,
anyway,
maybe on that trade, I don't get a lot of underpaying trades.
I went to look at who had picks because I'm like, I was trying to hold on, and I didn't really know that I wanted to trade Crosby. I put him in, I think, in trade bait, and I got some offers, and I wasn't sure that I wanted to trade him. So I went to look and see who had picks, and I was going to counter Mike with a second because I think he had the second. Pretty sure it was him, not the other guy, but did offer me the third for Crosby. So I'm looking at the Sam. I think he's worth a second. That was in my opinion. I think Crosby's worth a second. I would not pay for that contract. I would not pay a first round pick for Crosby. I wouldn't do it. So I felt like his value. I mean, you could say, everybody have different value, but I felt like he was worth a second. So
he's no Nick Bosa on the IR.
Huh?
He's no Nick Bosa on the IR. I'll tell you that.
Yeah, no Nick Bosa. So anyway, the way that I felt like I got 2/3, but I got the safety I wanted. I feel like if my $7 safety comes and I had to pay what? I paid like $100 for safety or some shit. I don't know when, but it was.
That's
They're crazy
fine.
expensive. They're crazy expensive.
So that third
if I
and the
got
other
the safety that I want for $7, and he becomes he wasn't just a free safety; he's a strong safety. So if I get a strong safety for $7, give me that receiver. He tried not to give me the receiver, dude. Warren, that was not the first trade. Warren was trying not to give me the damn receiver
I
for
know.
49.
But
And I'm like, dude,
I get those starters.
I'm like, dude, you got to give me 2 fucking players. Like, come on. And so,
so he just wanted to trade you the safety, a 3rd round pick for Crosby. That was his initial. There was some
other crap in there, but he wasn't trying to give me. He was giving me that 5th and 6th round pick, and I'm like, no, I'm not doing the deal without. And there was something else in there that he ended up taking out, and we put it in. So anyway, we probably exchanged 6, 7 trades.
Do you have Warren's cell phone number, or is this all through email?
No, through email. I don't have his number.
Okay.
So I would say
I think
here's
Warren
my
should create a
problem.
Snapchat.
When did I make the trade? I was gonna go look this up. When did I make the trade? Because I have a bad habit. Y'all don't use this against me, okay? If it's after midnight, I've made a couple of fucking stupid trades. Okay, I'm a little tired.
After midnight,
After midnight trader. I did not really intend for Dexter Lawrence to be in the trade. I don't know how
let it all hang down.
And I really wasn't paying attention to that, to be honest with you.
Can you unzip your shirt? Can you unzip your coat a little bit? I want to see if you have your Joe Burrow is the sexiest man alive
I don't.
jersey on. Okay, all right. I was just making sure. You do understand we play fantasy football, right?
Yeah, we play fantasy football.
We don't just. Okay.
We play fantasy football. Dynasty-wise, I believe the quarterbacks are exactly the damn same. The price contract's the same.
Okay.
So that's where I felt like I was...
Point. All right. This is to the original question I had for you.
Yeah.
You know how desperate Warren is to get an upgrade at quarterback. Forget the dynasty value moving forward. We can agree that they're within 2 or 3 positional values, probably. I'm fine with you saying Burrow's a better fantasy asset moving forward. At what point do you think to yourself, he needs this player? This is where I can bend him over and get what I want, not what Warren wants. That's the question. Forget Dexter Lawrence. Forget the 2/3 and the 5th and 6th, which is mean. Dexter Lawrence not meaningless, but the 5th and 6th, what the fuck ever. At what point do you just not say, sorry, Warren, not budging off of this. I'm going to shop him off to someone else.
It was after midnight, Corey.
Does Warren ever get desperate? That's my question. I don't know.
Why don't you just walk away?
Do you catch him desperate? Because he's always...
He doesn't. He has a great team.
Hold on. I have definitely caught him desperate. And got a fair trade with him.
Jake Browning scored 6 points last week.
I've caught Warren.
The week before.
Warren and I think we were Warren and I were hitting it off. We had a rocky year, and I think we made 6 trades in a row in a month in an off season. And I feel like it was his way of just trying to be my friend, and because they were all fair, and so I would say that there is light at the end of the tunnel. Warren can give you a nice deal, but maybe, I got to play hard to get a little bit.
I've gotten some deals from him in the league over the years. I can't say it's easy, but I've done some deals because what I like about him is he will tell you, hey, look, I'm trying to do this, or I feel like this is the value. You will get a lot of communication from him. You may not agree with it. But
so the lesson is here, if I want Sam Laporta, I just keep hammering you with 15 to 20 offers over the course
after
of the
midnight.
Day.
After midnight. I do believe that's the tactic.
I come down a little bit off the shit offers that I made you for the last 48 hours. And then at midnight, I say, well, you know what, Dan? I'm going to go ahead and throw in this 6th round running back.
Yeah.
And then you're going to pull the trigger.
Do you
know?
This
is valuable.
Do you know?
Maybe swap kickers. Maybe swap kickers.
Do you know who does that?
Maybe swap kickers.
Wayno.
Yeah.
Have you ever been badgered by Wayno for 45 million shitty trades? And then love it. If you wait long, because he's now in the 2 quarterback league.
Yes, he is.
He is. He's now in the 2 quarter. I want his buddy can't come. Just letting you know, his buddy can't come.
Oh my lord.
Hey,
But
you know what? At least Wayno had the balls to get on the fucking podcast.
yeah,
He did.
Wayno was cool.
He fucking did.
I literally, he asked me the first year about coming in. I don't think he had the money, and we filled up. But I wanted him because
We
he's
tried
an
to
active
raise
dude.
funds for
He's
that
a weird
dude.
dude. But
We
he's
tried to
active
raise
dude.
funds. Listen, I don't know if a word active would ever be described Wayno, but
Wade is a national treasure.
Dude, he is a treasure.
and he did cross the line on several things, and it was very
Yeah,
several
he
things.
did.
But
Some people are slower to getting up to those California times, Corey.
Hey, listen, I'm a very forgiving person. People make mistakes, but there is a pattern. There was a pattern developing of some racial undertones that there's no place for it. Period.
Yeah.
I'm sure he's learned his lesson, and
Him and his buddy, they're tough, man. They got a lot of trade swapping going on, and you're just no, that can't be. So his buddy's not coming to the league. Do you know I am now in the league with the original 2 quarterback, 2 QB or not to QB league? I joined it this year.
Really?
Yes.
The original Paragon one?
The original Paragon.
I should go Paragon dumpster diving to see if who's in those leagues still.
Rush runs that league, and that's where I got the idea for our 2 quarterback league. I looked at it and I'm like, that would be great with contracts. And so that's where I got the merging of those 2 things. And so I decided to join it. Mando says, hey, you ought to join this league. And I'm like, really? I looked at it and I'm like, okay. No, I fucking wish I wouldn't have did that. My team sucks. And I don't have no idea if it'll ever be any good. But Wayno is in that league and with his buddy. And they make some bad trades, dude. It's bad. They make bad trades. But Wayne, he constantly, every day, I'm getting 3 offers a day from Wayne. And I know on his pattern that one day he's going to send me a trade that I need to hit accept really, really fast. Because he sends you like 30 really bad trades. They're like, you're just like, that's the dumbest thing I've ever seen in my life. And then
you want to talk about after
it's
midnight.
It's going to be a great trade that you can't. They're like, oh, please accept. So
I have 3 or 4 people that are in that category. I don't know if you and I will ever be able to make a deal. I think we've made 1 or 2 across 3 leagues in the past. Like we just value things completely different, and I don't think we're willing to. I also feel like this year people are just not willing to give me any sort of action whatsoever, which is fine. But I have 3 or 4 people, and I know people have various opinions about, hey, I'll take any offer. It's fine. I don't mind if people send me an offer. 3 people or 4 people just go instant delete. I'm not even really looking at them. It's where then they start to try to convince me why their offer makes a lot of sense for my team and blah, blah, blah. That's where I'm like, okay. And then if I retort with nicely, we just don't see values the same way. This is not the direction I'm wanting to go. Then they take it personal, and then they start throwing out, well, And I'm like, hey, man, I'll just go back to just throwing you right in the trash box because I don't want to interact.
Hey, man, everyone values players differently. Mando thinks James Cook's worth 17 first-round picks, according to his chat in first. That's cool, man. I mean, I've never seen it, but for me personally, in these conversations with vetoes and everything, I think we can sit there and dissect valuations and be upset that one side is lopsided to our opinions. But in the end, like, I don't know. We could have a very fun exercise and try and compare the worst trades year on year on year on year. And you're just going to notice, like, what I would value, what you would value, what somebody else would value. I mean, man, people saying that DNs aren't worth anything, so Crosby is shit because he'd rather have a linebacker that gets 50% snaps because they're more scarce. It's like, okay. I wish people would approach me when I have the assets that they want and the assets they have I want, but it doesn't seem to ever work that way.
Yeah,
I don't mind that people having their values as long as it doesn't shift based off of their individual needs in different leagues. Like, I know you can't compare 32 to 16, but you can.
That's just hustling, Corey. That's just
You can't
hustling.
say, you know, he's worth squat in this league and then say he's worth a first in another league. That's just not. It's fucking asinine.
We have many people in these leagues that have definitely told me their valuation on a player, like on a total opposite spectrum, based on whether I had them or they had them.
It's simple. When you have
It's just business.
When you're playing in a league with guys in 3 different leagues and they offer you a second for a running back in one league and then you offer the same second for them in another league and they say no, it's pretty easy to see who's full of shit, right? Like it's anyway.
Moses is Moses, okay. But business is business, Corey.
Okay. The veto conversation. So, not you personally, Dan, but just in general, how we can improve the process. Here's a couple suggestions. Number one, I don't have any. I have no understanding of why it's anonymous. Why can't we make it so everybody has to vote and they have to put their name to their vote? Because
it could be
hold
anonymous.
on, I don't see why putting your name on a vote matters, because I think it also would alleviate any of the, you know, kind of clicky behavior, right? Depending on my buddy, if he's in trouble kind of thing. Like if you put it and you see a pattern, then, you know, it's hard to manipulate that. Why can't we just make it anonymous? That's question one. Hold on. Answer question one. That's it. And then I'll let you guys both talk. Answer that one. Why can't it be anonymous? Or not? Why can't it be public, I guess?
I don't think there's a setting.
In the settings, it can be. It can be public.
Oh, okay.
You can see who votes for what. I have never used it for the reason of I don't want people to have repercussions from other owners based on how they voted. And I
agree with that. I don't think if there's any benefit of showing who voted for who.
Yeah, I don't think there's a benefit either. That's just the way I feel about it.
Otherwise, everyone's voting no. I want to trade with that guy. I want to trade with that guy at some point. I don't want him pissed off at me because I fucking.
I have no problem because I don't have a moral confliction. If I think the trade stinks, I'm going to vote for it. And if I think it's fine, then I vote for it.
You are one person, sir.
I'm just saying I don't see what the moral conflict is. It's like, hey, I think this is a lopsided deal.
It's not a moral conflict. It's the fact of the matter is if I stare at everyone who voted against my, I'll be like, man, that motherfucker voted against this after he had that, blah, blah, and then it's like gets into this weird cycle.
There's way more ways to piss off people. I talk shit on this pod and you talk shit on this pod all the time. Like how would I then say, well, if I veto someone that I like, oh, he's not going to like me tomorrow?
That's us, man.
But where's the positive? That's my issue, I guess, could go to is I see negative
transparency. Okay, so I believe it's transparent. Okay, hold on. Fine. I'm okay. I'm not trying to win the argument. I'm just vocalizing my opinions and some questions. I think it's transparency, number one. Number two, I completely disagree that you should not voting should not be required. I just completely disagree with it. You won't be able to tell me that time is too valuable for people or they get busy. There's a 4-day window for them during the season when they have to log in. Like that's a requirement anyway for most people. I think there should be a rule that says you have to vote because I mean, it's not that hard to, if you're going to vote no, just vote no. Because when we get into a situation when you have a 70%, well, right. I don't know. That's what we're bringing up to the conversation.
That's the tricky part where you get into it.
Let's dock them draft picks.
Yeah, like where's the punishment? That's the hard part.
Why not?
Like right now, the easiest setting.
Who's managing that?
Yeah, and then
it's pretty simple. Don't do it.
Okay, so Corey, you're going to manage docking 16 owners that didn't vote. You're going to dock them picks.
It's in the code of conduct. It says you're required to vote in all polls.
Okay. Right. But exactly.
A code of conduct is a base of recommendations. It's not saying you're going to lose draft picks over it.
So we're just going to assume that the same 12 people that never vote in vetoes are just automatic no's, and then you're going to have a 70% of the league voting, and so you get 17-6 vote in favor of not turning it over, or 15-6 or whatever it is, and that's not enough when the overwhelming majority of people don't like the deal, and you're assuming no's on the others.
Corey, you spent this entire fucking podcast talking about how you know nothing about how the MFL system works, and you're just talking about it like Dan can just turn it on like a fucking hose. It's not like that. If you want to force people to vote, what are you going to do? If they logged on? What if they didn't log on in 48 hours or see it? You're going to fucking dock them up.
Is it a 48-hour time period that they have to vote on?
Vetoes were shortened to 48 hours.
It's an email blast. It's a cell phone blast. There's a vote required.
The one that's currently going on in CK is 48 hours. The last one was 48 hours. During the season, I'm trying to get it to where you want to give them enough time to go see it and go vote without it trickling into a whole bunch of games. So this one,
I agree with that.
On Thursday. Now, here's the thing. Like, so if trying to make someone vote, what if they are? There are people that are gone for 2 days all the time. Like, what if they're, whatever, they set their lineup and they got to go somewhere, or they're going on a trip, or they're wherever it is. Like, what are you going to do? You're going to punish them because they didn't log on for 2 days, but they set their lineup before they knew they were working.
There's no way.
I just don't see it. I don't see it as practical, and then I just don't.
Okay.
Part of managing.
So why does it have to be? Why does it have to be 17 out of 32 then? Why can't it be whatever?
Because that's the majority of the league. So the way that it's written now the way that it's written now is, if you don't vote, it is a vote. It is a no vote. So it is on the onus of the people that are really against the trade to get it overturned. Because at one time we did use, for some things we use majority, and not enough people were voting, especially like off-season stuff or rules. And then it's like, we have 12 people voting, and 7 of them. So 7 people decided we change this vote, let's change this rule because that was the majority. That's not a lot of people. And so when it comes to vetoes, I think it has to be the majority of the league.
The simplest way to up the vote, not to guarantee full participation, would have been if there's an easy way for Dan to remove abilities to set lineups, do free agent transactions, anything like an IR. Like, you have an IR violation. Right. Everyone has an IR violation until they vote. I don't think MFL has that setting. If we can find out that they do, that's the only real way, because otherwise you're talking. But then, you're talking about Dan going in and
stripping everyone of. You got to strip everyone of their abilities, and then
stripping, and then manually bringing them back.
Yeah,
when he can.
I just feel like that's way more problematic.
You think as the veto process is written, Ben, I'm sorry that I don't need your support for my position, but I thought you were in an agreement that there needed to be some sort of change because it's a broken system now.
I am in agreement that there needs to be some sort of change. There are none for the system. That's the fucking problem.
What are your other suggestions then? How do you fix it?
You cannot fix these things unless you make the vote longer.
Okay, so it's a broken system, but we can't fix it, is what you're saying.
The only way you would fix it, and Dan just pointed out why you wouldn't, is if you reduce to majority vote off of who voted, what happens in the offseason when everyone's checked out, and fucking 7 people change the entire demographic of the league on a vote.
Yeah, that's why.
What happens?
Yeah, they have to go back.
You show up, and all of a sudden there's 6 linebackers and no DNs, and you're like, "What the fuck happened?" Well,
I'd have to go back and look at the history of the vetoes. And I did for the most recent ones because I was curious about how many people have voted, and it's usually between 24 and 22 and 27. There's. The ones that have gotten overturned have been more people, which makes sense because they're more passionate about whatever deal it is. There's obviously people that just don't vote, and they said it, I'm not going to vote. So those people are not having an issue logging in. They're just saying that they don't vote. So just make them go in and log. That makes it look more balanced when the results come back and it's 15-7 or whatever, right? Yeah. So I get it. I'm just trying to find a solution to make. And there may be
veto voting would have to be different than rule voting. So you would have to have veto votes or 48-hour turnover processes where votes on general rule set changes you would probably open up for much longer,
a week,
right?
Yeah.
So you build some sort of threshold. If then this many get to that point, then it's majority rule. That's kind of the only way we could do it, which would be saying if 75% voted in the league, 70%, that's the threshold to taking majority vote.
Right.
Okay. And then you could do that same thing for the other thing, but you can't just open it for a general majority vote because Dan just pointed it out. If nobody's voting or if people are choosing to be absentee votes. And that's the biggest problem that exists, that there is no solution for unless there was an easy MFL setting.
Right.
So there was an easily MFL setting where it was like, this vote, everyone must vote before they can set a lineup, push that button. Then Dan probably would tell us that's available and we do that.
Okay.
But it can't be manual. It's too
Which
tedious.
problem, the question is, which problem do you want? Do you want the problem that we have, that you're going to go in and vote and you need to get a majority of the league to vote to overturn a trade? Or do you want to try and enforce and make people vote? And let's just say you have a 48-hour window. That doesn't mean they give a shit in 48 hours. Let's just say they come in and they go, I can't set my lineup. I can't do this. I took my abilities away. I'm pissed off. And I don't really care. I don't know if this guy's worth this guy. But it doesn't affect me one way or the other. And now I have 4 hours to figure out which side I'm on. And
Right.
that's where it's like you're forcing someone to make a decision, and they may not have enough information. They may not have had enough time to put the thought process.
Well, then they
into
simply
make
say
the right
no,
decision.
right? They simply say no. I don't have enough information, or I don't care.
Well, then
I mean,
that's why you have an absentee vote, because you don't know.
Right.
And
I'd also like to give a beautiful history lesson of all these Paragon leads and specifically Blue Chip. The veto process has never fucking been functional. It's never worked the way we wanted to. It's never given results the way we wanted to, and there's no easy solutions to do so. If we wanted to do what happened recently is that a clear majority of who voted went against the trade that Dan and Warren did. Okay, so everyone looks at that and says, that's not fair because that's it. Well, there's absentees, so maybe there's people who do. Well, let's force them to vote, no, or whatever. It needs to be a threshold point. You just have to say, if enough people give a shit, then this many people have to vote, and this is the threshold to make a veto valid. It doesn't have to get, because what we're trying to do originally was say, you need to over half the owners have to vote yes.
Yeah.
And that's taking into consideration two people who are definitely not voting against their own trade, right? So that is a little flawed.
It's like getting votes in politics. Like if you're really passionate about it, I think I've done 3 vetoes and I've won them all. Like, and they've all been supported, right? So it's not like you can't get it done. I think I'm pointing out that it can be done, and the league will care enough to vote it. It's not like I was going knocking on doors and saying, "Hey, I've never talked to you before, but you need to vote here."
So now I'm gonna finish my story on this veto trade. Okay.
You watch it over there, Ben. Just watch it. Because I can see you getting a little chippy after that McClellan starts, going.
Okay.
And I don't need it today, buddy.
So here's the thing. So in the settings, there's a couple of settings that you can pick. One is not make it public. You can see who votes for what. One of them is you block it. You can make the trade visible, like the veto, not the trade, the veto.
Right. Yeah.
Voting.
Up to date.
Like there are 7 yays and 7 nays. Like you can see that if you click that setting during the process. You don't have to wait till the end to see that.
I think that's okay.
I kind of like that idea, Dan, because then people, as it's getting closer, they might like, oh, I actually don't want it to go this way. I probably should vote because I do feel strongly with it, as opposed to sitting on the side.
Reason I don't
that
do
might
it.
Be a
That's the reason I don't do it, is because I don't want that to influence people's voting.
Good point.
I'm not going to vote because they'll say going against it got off to a hot start with people voting. And it's like, I'm not going to vote in because it's not going to matter anyway. I don't want that.
But they are voting because they're not voting. They are voting and saying no. So you're assuming a no.
Right, because it's, to me, I feel like.
Well, yeah, talk to them and their moral compass.
Okay, so you can click that setting. So if you will catch once in a while, so right now it's not public, but I can unclick the setting, make it public, and then I go check it. I'll go check when there's a veto going on. I'll go check and see who's against and it doesn't say who voted, but how many yays, how many nays. And so I like to check on it just to see how it's going. So
and that makes it public to everybody.
Makes it public to everybody, but then I go change the setting back because I don't want it to be public. I don't want everybody.
I've seen it. I've been online when you were doing that, and I've seen the numbers.
Yeah.
Like, so I get that.
And so I'm looking at it, and I'm looking at it getting to like 13 or 14 votes to overturn. And I'm like, I don't know that I've ever voted on a trade veto. And unless I'm the deciding vote, right? And I've never been the deciding vote. But in this case, it was getting really close to being a deciding vote. And I gave a lot of thought to if they get to 16, would it end up at 15? I said, if it gets to 16, I might vote against my own trade. I really thought about it. So I thought it was kind of funny.
It is funny.
It is
You
funny
thought it was so
because
bad that you would have vetoed yourself.
because y'all are not wrong. I didn't win the trade. And I thought about it, and I'm going, if they get to 16, would I vote against my own trade? Maybe I could get a little bit more from Warren or whoever else. And so it would have been, if I got one more vote, it was in the wheelhouse. I was thinking about it. But
I'm not going to beat you up over it anymore, Dan. It is what it is. Like, I do think that people are more inclined when it's someone as strong as Warren, and I think this is just the world in general. You're more inclined to have a negative reaction when it's clearly for someone that is a front runner for many years to come. But that goes back to my original point of bending him over the coals to make sure you got what you wanted because of that. Right? Like, I'm going to be a little bit more ruthless with people that I'm going to be a competitor against.
I'm going to make it a point that if I trade, my next trade with him is I'm going to make sure to see if I can bend him over a little bit.
Yeah, but then they're just going to say on the other end, see, there was the handshake. Now he got him after the fact.
Yeah.
I'm going to set it.
You can't win.
I'm going to set an auto email.
I'm sensitive to your position in that regards. It was a bad trade.
It was. It's not the first one I've made, and it won't be the last one I've made. I've made some other trades.
Karma has a way of sorting those things out. Just the fantasy football.
I've won some, and I have definitely. But what was I going to add?
All right. Well,
after midnight.
So the point you were saying, like competitively, the CK thing is probably why. Man, it was hot. I got a fucking message. That motherfucker was hot. And
yeah, but Mando doesn't vote.
He's 4-0.
But he's 4-0, and I'm like 3-1, right? 3-1. So I'm, competitively, when you're competitively looking at it, going, well, fuck, Greg got a fucking hell of a deal. And he's going to be really hard to beat, and so that some people that's a bias that does get in there,
for sure. But, that's a natural thing, right? Like, I don't think anybody's naive enough to say that doesn't play a factor. It's nothing personal against Warren. Like, I'll say it again: Warren he's better at fantasy football than I am. Like, point blank, he's built strong teams across the board in every league. Like, no slack at him at all for that. Now, how he goes about it, and do we see eye to eye on things, and how we communicate, we're probably never going to. But that doesn't mean that I don't want to compete against him, and that I don't give him his kudos for being a very, very strong fantasy mind. He's done a tremendous job in BC doing it. I think it's gone a couple of trades to where the whole McCaffrey thing, that one was just baffling. You got heated over the Ladd McConkey thing, right? Look at how that's working out for you. That's a perfect example on the other side. Neither one of them's worth the shit, Pacheco, Ladd McConkey right now, but
I made a couple of trades that killed my season, so apparently I'm not very good at it.
Yeah, I think
it's fantasy football.
It's long term, I'm definitely preferring Ladd McConkey over, Isaiah Pacheco, but this year alone, it hasn't been beneficial for you. I think you made the point of, I guarantee those other two guys will outscore Ladd McConkey in the first 3 weeks or something. We should go back and check if that actually happened. That was a pretty bold statement by you.
I have McConkey, and he's been sucking, so he's not even a top 2 receiver on his own team. I might win that bet. I don't have to go back and look at it.
He was in the bottom 50 as of last week in the wide receiver zone. So I don't know. That's a moral to the story.
Not even a top 2 receiver on his own team.
This is why we're all experts today, and what happened yesterday we won't need to talk about.
Right.
That's right. All right, Dan, a couple more things for you because we've been at it for an hour. This has been great. I think this is the best pod we've ever done, and I'm not throwing smoke. It's just been so natural and fun, and Ben's just starting to gear up over there, and I'm starting to feel the vibes just peering through me.
I haven't had
He's
that
about
much,
ready.
McAllen.
Well, you're about ready to choose violence, and it's gonna. I can see it in your eyes.
No,
Okay.
we're great. It's
Right.
almost after midnight. I'm going to hit up Dan for a trade.
Right? Send
Ben,
them
yeah,
now. Send them.
we could do a three-way right now. I mean,
Corey, we're talking about trades.
couple of other things. Very simple one. How can Ben and I support you, and how can you we want to continue to foster a better environment and keep getting the league better. Obviously, there's been some tension and there's a lot of chitter chatter going around there. Transparency, timeliness, no fault, no shade thrown at you, but how can we better support you outside of the leadership council to take some of the stress away, to make the league better, to continue to develop the league and put it in its best place for many years to come?
I would say let's really keep helping and be positive influences on the new guys, because I'm really excited for this group of guys that came in. We are staring. We have actually one unpaid owner in CK, one 3 in Thrones, like 6 in Blue Chip. Like we are
For next year.
for next year. We are vastly
Yeah.
paid at a level we've never been to for a
It's
future
crazy.
year. So we most likely will not have almost any vacancies in most leagues. Maybe one.
That's awesome.
And so and across the leagues, and so we could, so that's what excites me about that is I want to keep taking positive steps so that the people that are coming in understand the values. I like the mentor idea. I think we ought to get with some guys and flesh out a good concept for that. Some of the guys that you're talking to and get Mike involved in there, and let's let's flesh that out. I think because to me that's the strength of it is having those guys like being here, right?
Well, not only that, but I think when we do have some gaps, you want people to be advocates for the league and wanting to recruit other people, right? Like, I mean, the best way to keep the league I'm never quitting this league. Like, it would take something absolutely devastating. I think that's the whole point of this conversation, is to kind of cool some of the tension, and just you've been very open, and we certainly appreciate that. But when you have the connections with people, like, this is important. Like, as we were talking about, Dan, before we started, like, I think this whole societal thing where people are super aggressive via email and text and chat versus what happens when you get face to face with someone. And sometimes it's just that gap between what your intention is and what the tone is assumed and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And then when you have to actually talk face to
Taking
face,
that out of
things
context. Yeah.
things come down way, way, way quickly, or more quickly, I haven't even drank. I can't talk.
You need a McAllen, Corey.
I'm 57 days in, boys. I got 20 more to go. 20.
I will say,
20.
I want to, one of the best things and the best help that you guys have given me, I have to thank Ben, for
the wraparound he gave you last night. I mean, shit, I can see some trades about ready to fall.
Yeah, for the wraparound of that. He put it aside and did not fight me on the custom player rule change that we made, because I know he put so much time in it. But I can't tell you how much better that makes it for me. Time wise, I'm not coming on here and having to go through. It literally took 6 steps to change one player that got put in, and people start bidding on them, and it was just, God, it was such a headache. And so
I want to touch on that real quick. I gave the benefit of doubt that we were going to have an extra waiver period.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, let's fill out the extra waiver period and let's go as MFL fills in and to my opinion, they don't do it fast enough. But let's say once a week, you're going to get 7, 8 guys.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, at least those are guys on rosters or who maybe look good or whatever. So I have guys on my roster currently scoring that I did get that I might have wanted to get in that free agency period to get added to the system that probably, quite frankly, would have cost me more because everybody knows, oh, well, Ben added the size system, or that guy's got a wide receiver next to him, so let's get him up to $50. You know how the frenzy goes based off of position scarcity. So Miles Price is a great example of a guy I wanted to get into that system. Couldn't do it. He got added to the system. I got him for $7 in blind bidding waivers. Now I don't own him long term, and it was past the break. But like, hey, I guess my point is, I wanted to test to see if MFO would add fast enough for that to be okay. And in those 2 periods in August, they certainly did. Right? So I would never advocate at this point, after seeing what I've seen, to go back to that process of adding to the system.
Okay.
Can I ask you a question real quick, just for everybody's knowledge? So when someone's not in the system, so what is the correct path in order to make a waiver claim on him? I kind of know it, but I want to make sure everybody else does. So he's not in the system.
If he's not in the system, he's not available.
Now you can't. So here's the way you can check. This is for.
But I've seen guys in CK that are not in the system that are actively on a roster. Like, I've checked, and I'm just like, whatever, it's not worth it. So you're telling me that
they're not in the system, you can't own them.
So I've gone in and looked for him. I've seen him play. I'm like, blah blah blah. I'd like to go find him. He's not on anybody's roster. If I've looked for the name and he's just done for the year, I can't add him.
No, what it means is, you have to wait for MFL to add them.
You have to wait.
So, and here we go. I'm gonna spill some more fucking sensitive BC
You can email
content.
him. You can email him.
No. Well, you can, but I'm just going to say for everyone, because this is a strategy I use, but I know many people in the league use it. So I'm just going to say, if you go to the league home and go to all reports, okay, on the top right, it's transactions or something. I don't know. It's all reports. That's going to give you a lot of stuff. If there's a button there that says positional changes and adds to the system, if you click on that, it will show you the list of everyone who's been added to the system, when they were added, or if they changed positions from like linebacker to safety. Okay, so some people might not know that. It's a hell of an edge to have, especially during waiver times, because if a guy isn't in the system, you have to wait for MFL to add them. If it's a linebacker who got elevated from the practice of and gets snaps, generally they'll add him the next week. Not always, but you got to monitor that stuff.
Okay. Another question, Dan. Fuck, I lost my train of thought.
Corey, did you not know that?
No, and I don't care because I don't have that depth of knowledge that you do, and it's just not that important to me. I just, I get lucky. I ask for a lot of help, and there's a lot of asterisks in my success. So it is what it is, and it's trending down very quickly. Can we all agree? Here was my thought. Can we all agree that the lottery needs to be improved for next year?
Yeah, so I'm very excited. Harley is taking that. I think it's Harley. I told him he's going to be in charge of that next year. He's
in charge of creating the system.
We've done it. Basically, I've done it the same way every year. I think we've used about 3 different sites that randomly you put the weighted balls in, and then you just click, generate it, and you copy the link and you put it in the message board. I mean, I've done it the same way, but some years feels like we catch more flack on that. So, but what I will tell Harley when he does it, we have to do it at a certain time. So we can't roll things over, and that's where I think the Mando problem happened, because I remember I asked him to do it because I was busy doing something during that week. And the rollover was coming. When the rollover comes, you have to do the settings and set up the league in a certain order. or you can't go to the next steps and you can't get it rolled over. And I like to get them rolled over as fast as possible because to me it keeps people engaged in the league during the off season. I know there are a couple leagues where they'll let us sit there for 3 months and not do anything. I like to have it rolled over, get the work done in January. So we have our contracts, we have our tags, we have everything rolled over so people can make trades and be active. So when I sent him that message, hey, can you do that? I was not thinking, hell, there's going to be a holy shitstorm because I know he didn't have a pick in there, and my pick was owned by somebody else. And so, would I have a lottery pick? I don't think I did. I have a lottery pick? Maybe the year before I had a lottery pick. But anyways, so
you're
that
trending that way now. Unfortunately, it's someone else's.
Yeah, I don't usually have picks. So, and so that's where I don't know. We didn't like. I felt like it was the same transparency it was been the last several years. It's just, hey, we're doing this the lottery. Here it is. Here's how it came. Here's the link. Go check it out. But I am, so to answer your question, happy to not fucking do it.
Yeah, I think Mandy got a lot of unnecessary slack for that.
He'll be fine with it. He's got an idea of
whatsoever.
what I want to do live, and I think that's a great idea. I'll be super excited.
Mandy got way too much slack for it, but the system, just for transparency, like it's just commonsensical, whether it's been brought up in the past or not. Like it's just why even put yourself in that situation, right? Like it just doesn't make sense. I think it's because his first year and it was passed on to him. He just, I mean, it's just he caught straight bullets. Like, it just doesn't make sense.
I just asked him to go do it, and he did it, and there wasn't any more thought into it, and so I said,
he didn't deserve.
I think I emailed, hey, we used this site before, and that's where it went. So,
well, it was terrible timing too because he was going to co-commission and like take a bunch of stuff off of Dan's plate, and then the league crucified him for the way he handled that, and he's like, cool, I'm out. So again, on the leadership council, we've already ostracized many people in this league who tried to help. And that's like the problem when you have a problem with something and you want to like get the pitchforks out. Like in the end, if we want to make the league better and we want to make a committee, you got to make people want to be on the committee so they're not getting their fucking ass lit on fire because they made a mistake.
I think when you have strength in numbers where people have had a vote in the process of how people are doing it. And I don't think those situations happen if 5 people are talking about. We talked about the lottery several times and how we would do a live, drawing on a show and blah blah blah, and like, so it had been discussed, and there was no action to improve the process. And I think if you have people thinking about that and following through, I'm not saying that process was flawed from the beginning. Then no matter whether people said it or not, there should never be a situation for any sort of.
If people aren't happy,
why put yourself in that position? So, yeah, I mean, there's ways to do it better.
I'm excited to see what Harley does with that. I think it'll be
too.
Good. The schedule thing, I did want to address that because I don't know that I'm communicating that very well when that's been brought up about the schedule. So in the settings for the schedules, your options are a 13-week season, a 12-week season, a 14-week season, and MFL gives you this one option. In the 16-team leagues, we have a couple more options. In 32, we got shit for options. We have one option.
Okay.
And so the option is you play everyone in your division, and then you play, I think it's 6 games against the other teams, but they're in your same conference. So the way that our schedule is set up is you're playing, everyone that you play is in your conference. But I think you're shorted one opponent out of, you don't play every single one in the other. You play everybody in your division and almost everyone in the other division in your conference. And that's the only option they give you without you manually changing it. And so with him making a schedule, there's nowhere to input that for it to make a schedule. You cannot do it. I went back.
Well, 1.2, Dan, we set divisions up now currently to have a mix of finishes, right? It's not the best finish in one and then the
Right.
next two in another. So like I understand the issue and that the way, like, if this can't be implemented easily because of a 32 team set, like the fact that we are resorting everyone by whatever it's in the rules, like how it's set up, like, but it's a mix of the worst and the best in every single division, right? So in that way, we kind of have enough randomness to where if you're playing other people, I understand what Harley wants to do is to where you would always know ahead of time. You'd always be able to look forward and be like, okay, if this is the way the algorithm works, as soon as our divisions are set up, I know what my schedule is going to look like. But to your point, if we can't import custom to a 32 team league, then we might not just.
So what you're saying is you can't run his program and then go and say, okay, week 1, I'm going to set this up, or have someone else do it. It just doesn't allow for it. It's that simple.
You can manually make a schedule. So I can go, Ben, week 1, Ben plays Corey. This team plays this team. This team plays this team. You can do that for all 16, and then you got to go the next week. But don't make a mistake, because it's going to be real fucked. And so that's
yeah.
That if you make
let's
one error,
leave it at that. So it's an input of time commitment that needs to be flawless, is what you're considering.
It's a time commitment,
okay.
And then if you happen to make a mistake, you're going to get errors on the schedule, and then you're going to have to go totally redo it again. And so it's just, me, I don't feel like it's worth the what they say is that the juice worth the squeeze. I don't feel like I think because when we set up the divisions the way that we do, you're getting that random, like you said, the thing is kind of in it, and then you're playing the same type of schedule every year. You're playing your division, you're playing most everyone in your conference, and then that's random. And so
my point to the naysayers would be, like, after 4 weeks, things can change so drastically for who was a strong team or thought was a competitor, and like who's trading away assets. So even if you tried to make it perfect and saying, well, from an algorithm standpoint, this is the ideal, most fair way to do it, that could change. It can change in the off season how drastically one team strategizes to change. So I don't know if there's ever a perfect science to do, as long as the initial schedule is completely random and it's not any manual input on your behalf of like, okay, I'm going to play him on week 10 and like you're a perfect example. I thought you had a really strong team, not only until you made that deal with Warren and got much worse, but I thought you were set up as a real competition in this year.
I thought it was going to be decent. I didn't think the rookies would storm out of the gate. Now they both had good weeks last week. My two running backs both had good weeks.
I mean, it's crazy.
But,
I mean, so
but it took long enough. But if my receivers are shitting the bed, McConkey and the other guys are now, it's like he's hurt.
Well, you'll always have Joe Burrow, Dan. You'll always have Joe Burrow.
I will have Joe Burrow. I'm excited about that. I like Joe Burrow.
For a 5th and 6.
Now, one of my friends in family leagues, what we do that is we play the average. And I like that for the reason it takes a lot of randomness out of the schedule. That way,
what do you mean by that?
The top half of the scorers. So if we played double an average game, I'm playing against Ben and I'm playing against the average. So if the average score is 178 and I scored 200, but I lost because the other guy Ben got 205, I took a loss scoring 200 points, but I still beat the 178. So I get a win and a loss. It takes the randomness out of the schedule.
So there's still 16 wins and 16 losses, but it's just times 2. So
no, there'd be double, right?
It's doubles.
What if
the amount of games? So
the person that sets the median is a loss?
No, it's based on how many points are scored. So half of the league will get above that number, half of the league will be below that number.
Okay, so it'll be an even split, and it's it's 16 wins and 16 losses based off the average.
Corey, I can break this down very simply.
I got it.
Game of Thrones. where I missed the playoffs with the most points scored. In that case, I would have been a 1 seed. I would have shipped the belt. I'd have the trophy above here and be all whistling Dixie.
You're better at fantasy football than me too, Ben. Absolutely. I mean, I've done squat in the other three leagues.
I've never missed the playoffs with the most points scored in any league anywhere that I've ever been in. That is my greatest feat I've ever done in fantasy football.
I like just playing your rivals and the randomness and just 16 games. And I do, but I'm not saying it couldn't be better. It's just there's going to be problems with that at some point too. There's something to be said.
I don't know if I like it, but I think it's interesting. Like it's a very interesting way to approach it.
I saw Mando make a comment in Thrones. I think he has like the second highest points or second highest something, and he's got like 0-4, and it's like how the fuck does that happen? Like, so there's a lot of random.
Just check me out last year. Year.
Hey. So if y'all want to talk about improving the schedule there, that would be my recommendation, to take out some of that.
Yeah, because so real quick, because I wanted to ask this and just be very clear, because it was one of Harley's questions, or one of the things he was saying that we weren't doing. In a 16-team league, you can put a script in. They allow for customized scripts to go in, but in 32 teams, they don't.
My fantasy league you cannot input a script in.
Okay.
At least I went and looked for it, so I didn't see where you could put a script.
Okay.
You have to manually.
So it's manual entry.
Make the schedule, huh?
All right.
And that's why
maybe Harley wants to do that.
That's why I don't mess with double headers also, because to make the double headers, if it does in a 16-team league, they do give you one. There's more options, and one of them is a double header. It will give you an option for a double header, and I don't know how the options really suck. It really sucks. So the only other option is to manually make some double headers in certain weeks, and then that means I'm doing it. But that also means I don't want to feel like I'm biased making certain matchups in certain weeks.
Yeah, I think that's problematic.
In the rules, it says you can have up to 3 double headers. I think Chris used to use double headers. But that's the reason I haven't done it. I don't like messing with it manually. I think it's more problem.
I appreciate that. To stay on Harley real quick, who's been a great voice this year, along with the new greatest voice, last great American Dynasty, voted best new voice in 2025. I love him. He's great. I did not understand his last post about now trying to make the lottery. Like, I think that's going way too far to try to make it, participation trophies. He's talking about if someone trades away their pick, then their winning team. Yeah. He lost me on that one. Typically when people are smart as Harley, fine. They are, but when the crickets are the crickets, it's a little too much.
No, I personally, I understand that is coming from a space that would penalize trading your picks further and leave value to people who keep their own picks and were actually shitty. So the intent is totally there. I just don't think, the league would sign up to it. I can't give you an opinion on which way I would like. I give my picks away mostly. So if they were devalued in some way, I guess I wouldn't care. But for somebody who trades for first-round picks, hoping to get up in that lottery, I think that might.
But that's just a part of the game, It's like I love that. I love that strategy part of it. If I'm trying to, I did it to get Gibbs. Like, I mean, I don't think Joel thought he was going to be.
There's a lottery now. There didn't used to be. This is just like another stipulation that would be like that.
I like where we're at with the lottery. I like where we're at. It's like you can strategize to get those picks, but you're not guaranteed the first pick.
Keep the ideas coming, Harley.
Yeah, his ideas are great, and I'm just saying he lost me on that one. That's all.
Keep the ideas coming. Harley's obviously a really smart guy, so I appreciate
extremely. Yes, yes, absolutely. All right, we're at the 2-hour mark. It's flown by. Is there anything else, Dan, that you want to talk? I know you brought a list. Do you want to fire back some hard questions at Ben and I?
Probably we haven't covered too much. I've had a number of issues with League Safe. They're more than I'm going to cover on on this podcast. That'll be a future time. I don't know if anybody else have had issues with League Safe. Y'all feel free to email me, but they're not.
I think international people have, yeah.
They're not recording.
I'm still getting emails saying I'm unpaid. Yeah.
Yeah, that's part of the settings, and it's a pain in the ass. So anyway, League Safe is a pain in my ass, and I really hate them.
Do you know alternatives that we could use?
About 2 or 3 months ago, I started looking into some alternatives. Probably as I get closer into the season, I'm going to flesh out some more alternatives and see where that goes.
Just don't give Mandy. Just don't put all the money in Mandy's personal account. He doesn't need that pushback. You know, like that. That's just not an option. We love you, Mandy. You know,
I don't know what
he's the most honest guy I know.
In his little gaming space that he does. I don't know what he does over there. I don't know if he gambles it or.
That is not the way.
That is not the way. But that dude. So funny story. So Mandy is a like gamer, like a real fucking gamer apparently.
Really?
Yeah.
I think he makes money doing it, and so.
That's awesome.
What's your Twitch account, Mandy? Let's game. Son.
I want to follow him. I want to watch that shit live.
No, I suck. My kid tells me I'm horrible. So I played Fortnite. I played Fortnite, and so I got to my friend and my son and his friends got to tell me how ass I am at Fortnite. And so, but they would let me play with them in their group. So I was the carry shit around guy and try not to die guy. But yeah, so I'm terrible at it, but I thought that was kind of fun.
I'll whoop that ass in Madden. I'll tell you that. Anybody wants Madden contest? Yeah, I'll get on the microphone and play someone online in Madden. No problem.
My daughter's making me play Grow Garden in Roblox, and then I get to be like the weird dad in there, growing gardens. It's a
very realistic portrayal of your life.
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm the weird dad. I know I am. You certainly are, but a very cool one at that. I've seen it. I've seen it live.
I got one more plug here. I was unsuccessful this year, but I am hell bent on getting this college league started. I really want to play. I played in a Devi league before, and I really found it interesting as a way to really watch college differently. To try and help me scout that better, and so I have enjoyed. We put that in the 2 quarterback league. If you for those that don't play in that league, we have a few guys that are in that league in Blue Chip. You can claim a college player while they're still in college with future picks. And,
doesn't seem like it's gone very well though.
Well,
you have to claim those quarterbacks super early.
It doesn't seem like it's gone very well. You paid for your picks, and I thought you were going to claim someone, and you never did.
No.
But yeah, so one day I have Arch Manning coming, and hopefully he's not asked when he comes to the NFL. But
my concern with that league, Dan, and I'll just be honest with you, is just the manual inputting and tracking. I wanted to see that before I got involved because it just seems like there's so much room for error there. You can see it
now.
Okay, and it's not a criticism of you. It's just like based off of being in these leagues and just still wanting to tighten a few things up. I was like, man, that's probably a divorce waiting to happen for me if I started watching college football, which I would obviously do if I was in that league. But it's like I just wanted to see it be ironed out a little bit, and really, kind of
pretty happy with that league. The only issue I think we have is scheduling because you had to in order to create those places to put the future picks. If you use them to claim a player, you have to play them. So basically, you had to make 2 extra teams in an extra division to put those picks in that aren't, and it made the scheduling even worse, harder to manage. And so I'm going to get with Rush, who runs the original 2 QB or not 2 QB, and get some pointers from him on how he bypasses that and makes that schedule. But
let me give a cool little summary that I noticed and why I haven't traded my picks. I think a bunch of people claimed right off the gate the very first year that we did it. So you trade your future picks. You almost have to trade all of them. So by the time the draft comes, like I was way late in my pick, and I picked like 10th because everyone traded their futures away for a quarterback that might be. Shador Sanders, I believe, was the first quarterback whose entire future draft class was given up for. Not great, Bob.
Yeah, that one didn't work out, I don't think. But it's fun.
Cool concept, cool league.
That's part of the strategy of it. And then so for the
Yeah.
new league, what we're doing with that one is that one's different. You don't claim the players. You have a college team, and then you have an NFL team. And so
Jesus Christ.
what you'll be able to do is take, say, 5 of those players from your college team, and they won't go into the draft. They'll go directly into your NFL team.
Wow.
And then,
cool.
So that way it bypasses the rookie draft, but you'll have a freshman, you'll have a college draft, and then you have NIL. This is my favorite part. It was so mind-blowing.
That was the part I was concerned about, though, is how do you track that shit?
Well, you're going to track it. It's going to be basically, I came up with the concept, basically same as holdouts and franchise tags. So it's the same theory of if they've outperformed their number. If you drafted them as a freshman and you drafted them and they cost nothing, you didn't pay them.
You pay them $100,000 or whatever. Yeah,
you didn't pay them any NIL money, and then they've outperformed. Now they're worth this, just like it'll be a holdout number, just like we use in holdouts. And then if you don't want to pay them, you can trade them, and so you don't have to win money. You don't have to win the college championship. If you draft a quarterback that was a 3 or 4 star and he turns out to be a stud, you can sell that quarterback for $100, $200, and that money goes directly into your account, and you take a profit on that player, the one player. So you don't even have to win a ship. You can buy players low, sell them high, because someone else is willing to pay them a higher NIL contract.
This is the type of degenerate shit I get divorced over.
Dude, this is why I'm so stoked. I've been really wanting to get this thing going, and I want to make sure the rules are right. The concepts are good. The rules are already on the website. Go read them. I do want to go through them really tightly, but I think it
sounds like you're going to have a lot of time to spend on that, and it sounds amazing.
Oh, yeah.
Better reason to develop this leadership.
I'm going to be so divorced.
Well, we do what we love, and we do who we love, right? I mean, at the end of the day, it's just kind of sometimes we take it on the chin, and sometimes we give it.
So for new guys,
anything else?
Blue chip, go read the rules. It's called College Kings Blue Chip Dynasty. I wanted to make it 32 teams. I did that specifically for a reason. So
you're going to start that next year?
Yes, we had 7 or 8 people that wanted to go this year. So I think by next year, if I really put a lot of time
I'll commit. If Ben commits as my co-manager, I'll do it. I'll commit
as your co-manager.
Yeah,
fuck
we got
off.
a co-manager.
I'm gonna fucking compete. Yeah.
No, I'll heavily consider it. I'd like to see this, how the spreadsheets and the tracking, and that's just.
So go look. Look on the website. The general rules are already on the website. I don't know if I posted one of the spreadsheets on there or not, but that's something, as I get a little more time, I'm gonna really start working on those, and they'll be linked on there just like we do on all the other pages. So you'll be able to see.
Ideally, I'd like to be in 2 32-team leagues, and that would be it. But I think that's the direction I'm moving. I really love BC. I do, and as much it takes an incredible amount of time for me, out of my day-to-day life, but it's what I love to do in my dead time, and it keeps my brain sharp, I think, even though I'm not very good at it. But to me, I'm never leaving the league, and I'll always be an advocate for it, and I'll always try to support you and talk people off the ledge, but I'm always also going to be honest, right? I'm always going to share my opinions. I hope that you can understand, especially after today, that me and you have had many private conversations. You've always been supportive of me. I've always reached out to you via email when I had concerns. You've always responded and been, and I encourage other people to do that, because you've never missed. If I've sent you something, it's usually within 24 hours that you respond to me via email. So I think people understanding that and knowing that, you being here today, I think, is so valuable. And if people want to talk shit, then they should get on here and talk shit too. You know what I mean? Like, that's the way I look at it. Is like you've been at least willing to face the heat, and you've done it very admirably, and you've kept a really calm. I mean, like I can guarantee you, if people were saying some of this shit to me that had they've said to you, it would have blown up.
We've
in
seen
in a
your
lot of
reactions, Corey.
yeah,
We've
yeah.
seen you pop off a
You
couple
know,
times.
and you do it without an ego, Dan, and I think that can't be overlooked. And so, at the end of the day, I know Ben. I don't want to speak for him, but I know we both do appreciate you and we do trust you. And I think that's a big path forward for everybody to hear. So, I also would love to have you back. I know you won't have another day off until you retire, but maybe you can get your secretary to take on a few more. Love to have you back. Just chat
Maybe
football. I think you're a
maybe in a
great
couple
great
of
guest.
weeks or something. I know not next week, but maybe in a couple of weeks we can break down who's the playoff race or something.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Hey, man,
for sure.
you're welcome anytime. It doesn't have to be for the full 2 hours. We can always slot you in. And thanks for always encouraging us and encouraging other people to listen to us. Again, this was the best show we've ever done, and it was completely unscripted. So, Ben, anything else to say
That's
before
why
we
we're
sign
the
off?
best.
Anything else?
Yeah, this McAllen was fantastic, and so were you guys.
I see it in your face, buddy. It looks beautiful, as always. All right.
I got it.
Well, gentlemen, that is it for us. We'll see what happens in week 5. It should be a doozy. Bye weeks are here. Get your trades in. Dan and I are going to make one right after the
Get your
show.
trades in. Is it after midnight? Send me some trades. I
Midnight.
suck already anyway.
Midnight.
Peace out.
Peace out.